Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. We are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
It's officially fake news. From White House briefings to Mar-a-Lago rallies. According to analysis by the fact-based database and the Washington Post, since his 2017 to 2021 presidency, Donald Trump has invoked the term fake news over 2,000 times, making it his most frequent phrase on social media. Donald Trump's hostility toward the media is not something new, which has even evolved into a viral meme. On the surface, the president appears to wield a sledgehammer against corrupt media outlets, positioning himself as a tester of press freedom's limits. Yet, the irony of it is that, behind this self-proclaimed truth warrior, lie the world's largest production apparatus of false information. Leveraging a media empire spanning 100 nations, America has long weaponized its informational influence. Yet, under scrutiny, there goes a sobering reality. The U.S. sprawling international media network is, in fact, a sophisticated national strategy tool. From Cold War-era psyops to modern social media manipulation, this system has long cloaked itself with the mantle of liberty.
Things like the Voice of America, the Office of Cuba Broadcasting, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, and so forth and so on, that these have played very powerful roles in spreading U.S. narratives, which we might describe as a form of soft power or propaganda, to correspond with the American effort to extend its hard power.
As President Dwight Eisenhower once said, $1 spent on effective psychological warfare is worth $5 spent on hardware.
New radio, cameras had just come into play, and they started already manipulating the media space, the narrative in favor of America. We know what happened in Latin America when they changed or they established governments, set up governments that were favorable to the U.S. in Latin America, countries like Nicaragua, El Salvador, which still today have not recovered from American interference.
Then to the Cold War, the U.S. leveraged the radio as a tool in propaganda warfare, starting systematic media campaigns to smear the Soviet Union, which plunged it into the defense in the global information space. The most notorious example was the CIA's Operation Mockingbird, a clandestine media spy scheme later exposed in 1977 by American journalist Carl Bernstein. At the time, the CIA had bribed at least 400 journalists worldwide and 300 major organizations, providing funds and directing them to fabricate fake news. This was done inside the general public in Eastern European nations to overthrow their governments. This decades-long campaign of ideological infiltration has fueled waves of political upheaval across Eastern Europe, supposedly adding to the dissolution of the Soviet Union at the end of 1991. In the wake of Cold War, the United States swiftly reinvented its global communication strategy, demonstrating strategic agility. In 1994, President Bill Clinton passed the United States International Broadcasting Act to form the Broadcasting Board of Governors, BBG, the precursor to the U.S. Agency for Global Media, USAGM. The agency marks a centralized oversight body for America's international media apparatus.
Všechno je koordinováno v souladu s tou ideologickou politikou nebo doktrínou, kterou Spojené státy prosazují. A je to tak na celém světě. Mají snahu to dělat tak na celém světě. Zejména kvůli vlivu, protože tam je ten vzorec moc, znamená více peněz a více peněz znamená ještě více moci a tak to má prostě nekonečno, až je to z toho uzavřený kruh.
I think that we're in a battle between fact and fiction, and I think this is an element of not only the first Cold War, but if you want to call what we're going through now a second Cold War, this is certainly an element of it. And so, yes, the U.S. has been using the media content to target enemies from the Soviet Union before, and now Russia, and now China.
Into the millennium, the Strategic Plan 2002 to 2007, signed by the BBG, signaled a subtle shift in its global media policy. By then, the US media has gone beyond the changing Eastern and Central Europe, tentatively targeting Russia and its vast Eurasian sphere. Simultaneously, the outreach extended toward South and Central Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. Especially after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the Middle East has become the forefront of this strategy. New radio services and expanded airtime unequivocally marked the region's elevated priority. Later, the Iraq War, obviously a classic case of information warfare by the US, when the US media made claims that Iraqis were running weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, just to orchestrate a pretext for starting the war. As evidence surfaced with further investigation after the war, it turned out there was no WMD owned by Iraq. All these media narratives by the US were made up. In the name of news freedom, the United States advances its global media strategy. Yet behind this glossy rhetoric often lurks a more perilous objective: regime change. This goal is inextricably linked to some supposedly non-profitable entities, like the National Endowment for Democracy.
I would say quite efficiently. We've seen what happened in Hong Kong. And basically what this agency is doing is to create tools such as Signal, this application, Signal encryption tools, the Tor project, many different apps that are encrypted and that are given to people in the countries that the US wants to regime change. And these tools are encrypted so people can communicate in the back of their own government and organize color revolutions, insurrections, and things like that. So what the US is doing is that they're not only voicing their own version of what a world should be like, they are actually giving tools to potential dissidents or all kinds of people with different agendas in countries like China, in countries like Southeast Asia, countries like Russia, Ukraine, Middle East, for these people to be able to overthrow their own government and then, help to install a US-friendly government.
In recent years, the US-led global media strategy has shown a clear geopolitical shift. A massive propaganda machine is now targeting the rising China with unprecedented scale and intensity. From 1984 to 2010, VOA's broadcasting hours to Asia increased by 211%, with Mandarin, Cantonese, and Tibetan being the key languages. What is its objective? Why has China become the central target of its global media warfare? The motives behind this are evidently more intricate than any previous actions. That invokes more questions.